Hey everyone, it's Laurel here, and today I'm going to show you a card. It's going to start off with a little bit of masking to create this floral bouquet. Then we're going to add some color with some watercolor brush markers, and it's going to look pretty ugly right here. Look at it. But eventually we're going to learn how to work the watercolor and move the color around, and it's going to turn into something quite pretty, like this. So hang with me, get ready, because this video is also part of a video blog hop celebrating my friend Artist's 3,000 subscribers, and there's lots of prizes to be won along the way. So if you're ready, let's go along for the ride. So today I'm going to be working with this stamp set from the Fun Stamper's Journey. This is actually the stamp set that's available in the September kit. This is called Friendship Blessings, and it's basically part of the Stamp of the Month Club. So this is September's Stamp of the Month. And it's full of some beautiful florals. I've even got this little pear there and some fun sentiments. So I thought it would be fun to create a masked kind of floral bouquet, if you will. So I'm not the best with masking because it requires me to think a little bit, like what image needs to be in front and all this stuff. And quite frankly, I don't want to insult myself, so I'm going to move on. So what I started with is I stamped the big floral image. I'm using some of the new Altenew Pigment ink. It's this beautiful gold color. I think it's called Enchanted Gold. And then I sprinkled on some clear embossing powder. Now you can do this with some embossing ink and some gold embossing powder if you wanted to. And then I stamped it a second time onto some Post-it sticky notes. It's the full back sticky notes to create a little mask here. So I'm just quickly cutting this out very loosely. It's not going to be perfect, just to kind of cover up that flower right there, because that's the flower I want front and center. So when you're masking, kind of stamp the image you want to be in the front first, and then stamp everything else after. Does that make sense? I don't know. I'm keeping my masked bouquet very simple because if I start trying to mask things on top of things on top of things, my brain is gonna explode. My brain does not think that way. So this is like basic masking 101. So I'm taking just all the other floral images there, and I'm just going to create this little bouquet. I'm just kind of lining it up on how it looks. They're red rubber stamps, but they already come pre-cut, so they're totally ready to stamp right out of the kit. So you gotta love that, right? So I'm sitting here finagling. I'm trying to envision what it's gonna look like. And once I'm satisfied, I'm gonna pick it up with my acrylic block. I'm gonna ink it up again with the same gold ink that I used for the first flower. Then I'm gonna stamp it down. And that original flower we stamped is completely protected by the mask. Now, I did forget to mention I'm working on some watercolored cardstock because I am going to use some watercolored brush markers in just a few minutes. So I'm going to go in and add another leaf here and there. I don't know. I'm not a flower expert, so I don't know how it's supposed to look, right? But I'm rolling with it. I think in the end I'm quite happy with it. But as I was doing this, I was like, is this where the leaves are supposed to go? So whatever. So again, if you don't have any gold ink, or if you don't have any ink color that you like for flowers, or that's not waterproof, if you decide to watercolor, then heat embossing is the way to go for sure. So you can just ink all this up with some clear embossing ink and then sprinkle on whatever embossing powder you like to go this route. But if you do decide to watercolor, I strongly advise that you do all of your stamping onto some watercolor cardstock. So once I am done heat setting this, and you'll know it's done because it's going to be all shiny, all the embossing powder is going to melt right into that paper and it's going to be all shiny, you are ready to go and proceed with the watercoloring part of this. Now I'm going to tell you right up front, it's going to look ugly at the beginning. I think I mentioned that at the very beginning of this video, so let's be honest, all right? I'm just going to put it out there. I am using some Altenew watercolor brush markers. Oh, I will link to, they have 3 collections out. I can't remember which collection this is, but regardless, you can use whatever watercolors you have in your stash. But if you want to know what I'm using, I will link to it in the description for you. So I'm just going in with 2 color greens and blending it out. You can do simple color. You don't even have to watercolor if you don't want to. Get your markers, get your Copics, get your Crayola markers, get your colored pencils. get your Sharpie markers, whatever you want to do. You don't have to do watercoloring. Watercoloring, I just love it. It's very calming to me. And plus, I feel like the water does all of the work for you. The water works its magic. So here I am just adding some color here and there. There's really no rhyme or reason. I probably should take a proper watercoloring class because I know that you're supposed to envision where the sun comes in and where the shadows are and all that stuff. Well, I don't do that. That puts a lot of pressure on me. and this is supposed to be fun, and this is my zen, right? So I think you guys should do whatever you want to do. So I'm just kind of choosing colors that I think look good side by side. I don't know. I'm just rolling with it. So I'm going to put all the colors down first, and then I'm going to blend it and soften it up a little bit with some water. So if you're using the brush markers, you can actually blend the colors with the brush markers if you want. You'll get a very vibrant result. I want it a little bit more watercolored and more washed out, so I will be adding some water with a paintbrush here shortly. And then we're going to go around the outlines, and we're going to add some shading, and we're going to make it look like there's a shadow there, and we're just going to have fun. And I'm just going to tell you, if I can do it, you can do it, because I'm not the best, all right? So here I am going around with this gray color, and I'm just going to go ahead and outline the entire flower. I'm getting in all the nooks and crannies in between those leaves. I got a little boo-boo with my embossing powder. I'm going to try to cover that up, but I'm not going to be successful, but it's going to go with the look of the card. And I've got all that gray down, and that looks pretty, pretty ugly. But here we are. I've got a brush, and I've got a cup of water off to the side, which is where my brush keeps disappearing to the right. It's going into the cup of water. And I'm going to start slowly blending out this color. So basically, I'm just taking the water, I'm touching it to the gray, and I'm just pushing it away. I'm just pushing it out. I want to leave the dark around the edge, but I want to push the color out some, if that makes any sense. Here, you can let the water do all the work. In my opinion, right here, I just got some green on my card. Or did you see that? Anyway, in my opinion here, I think the more water you add, the more beautiful it's going to look, because this is the look I was going for. Very vintage, very organic, very freeing. I wasn't looking for perfection. I wanted some vibrancy from the flowers. I wanted some muted tones from the shadows around it. I don't know. I'm just having a good old time. I say add some water. Just have a lot of fun. And I will cut that little green speck out here in the final card. So I tend to dry my panels, and I'm using the Wow heat gun. I'm actually using it on the second setting. The first setting is good for drying watercolored panels slowly, and it won't reactivate your embossing powder, but I'm going on heat setting 2 because I wanted to finish my card, and I had zero patience. But once it was good and dry, I really think the results are quite pretty. Another benefit of using the heat tool is it will actually leave those hard lines in there. See all those hard lines in those little puddles? That's because I dried it with my heat tool. If you do not like that look, if you want a softer look, then air drying it is probably the way to go. But I like all these hard looks. And I think that the finished result of this card is really quite pretty. I hope you do too. So, again, this is part of a video hop, as I mentioned at the beginning. So you'll want to scroll down, look in the description for the person to hop on over to next. There are prizes to be won. There are 20 people in the hop. So you get loads of inspiration today. Everybody's doing something different. She left it open to do whatever we wanted, so I can't wait to hop along and see what the other 19 participants have created. And here's a couple of other videos you might want to take a look at if you have the time. And if not, no worries. I will see you again here real soon. Thanks so much for watching.